Chloë Ryan, entrepreneur, Acrylic Robotics. At 19 years old, you start your company. At 23 years old today, your company is worth 7 million Canadian. You were doing abstract painting and mechanical engineering. And what happened?
It's quite the story. Happy to get into it. So I started out as an independent artist, and I sold my first painting when I was 14, curated my first show when I was 17, and then I went on to study mechanical engineering at McGill, and that was where the idea came to me that there might be a way to fuse the two and build a painting robot.
But why? Why did you need that?
Why? So initially it started out was when I was working as an independent artist, it would take me 3-4 weeks to make a painting. I would make, let's say maybe $300, $400 on each piece. That was what people around me were willing to pay. But I had multiple people who wanted the same piece. And it was always really frustrating that, if I was able to sell 10 of these, I would make $3,000 or $4,000, which would be fantastic. But selling only to one person, I did the math and I went, oh my goodness, I'm actually only making, $3 or $4 an hour, which was fine when I was a teenager doing this as a hobby. But I started to think more about, what is this actually going to look like if I'm trying to do this as a career, as a full-time job? And I just said, I don't see how the math ever makes sense. And so that's how it started. Happy to dive into the mission of the company now, but that's a little bit about the origin story.
So you were doing abstract art as painting. What kind of abstract? What was it that everybody wanted always to the same painting? What was it?
I loved it. Wasn't always abstract. I also loved portraits and whatnot. The types of paintings that people always wanted were either commission works of art, so they want something specific, paint this portrait of me in this particular style, even if it wasn't mine, which isn't always the most fun project, right? But people will pay for it. And then the other one that I sold a lot was abstract artwork, cityscapes, color blocked pieces, large scale. That was the kind of thing that I found a lot of demand for, that people would say, I want that. Like, I want that exact same thing. And, as an artist, it's not always very exciting to be doing the same thing over and over again.
The same thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And your family, are they all entrepreneur?
I make a lot of sense when I look in context to them. My dad's an engineer and my mother is a writer who owns her own company, Entrepreneur. So I've got the entrepreneurial, the artistic, and the engineering roots, which definitely informed the lens through which I see everything.
So at 14 years old, you were already an entrepreneur and you were already selling your art, and you decided to go to university and you did McGill. At McGill, you knew already that you want to have a robot?
No, definitely not. I had always had entrepreneurial tendencies. I started my first company when I was 9, which was before I started selling my artwork.
Where was it?
It's a bit silly now, but I built a toy brand. I called them Puffles. They were these little pom-pom toys that I would draw these personalities and descriptions for, build them. I ended up, every recess in the schoolyard, I would have a little manufacturing line of my friends, other 8, 9, 10-year-olds building these toys. I would sell them. I made, a few $100s, which is not actually that much, but at the time I felt rich. And then I had a little furniture line for them. So anyways, that was the first experience of I can create something that people want and sell it, and it's an addictive feeling.
So as an entrepreneur, your family or your parents must have saw right away, this one's going to go far in life. They were not wrong. What was the response when you told them, okay, I'm going to build a robot who's going to recreate art like if I did paint it?
Mixed responses. I think a lot of people at the beginning, not just my parents, I'm generalizing to the other people that I pitched the idea to. There was a lot of cute, good idea, wow, but it's never going to work.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a lot of that, that's a cool idea, have fun trying it. It's a cool side project, but I don't actually think that you're going to be able to build that technology.
You know that if you want to be successful, you want to know if it works. Don't ask the people around you because they will destroy your idea by fear.
Yeah.
At any moment, you had fear?
Oh, yeah. Yes and no. I think there's definitely fear of failure, and every new risk that I take is a bigger and bigger risk. That's how it works, and so there's always a bit of fear. But I don't know. I have always had a bit of a. I'm very bold, and I'm not. I guess I'm not scared of that fear, if that makes sense. Like
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Yeah. And it also felt like, what do I have to lose?
Nothing.
Nothing really. I'm young. I'm young, and these are my two interests. I love engineering and I love art. And anyways, and it was also a mission that I cared about. So yeah, there was some fear, but it was never something that stopped me.
So when you went to University McGill and you got your approval to build your project, did you think, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money? Or it was off passion? Was it passion or the money who made you do it?
Definitely passion. That's changed. Like now, we launched our first collection. We'll get into that later. And I can see, okay, wow, this is actually
good money.
It can
It's okay.
Work. But at the beginning, it was definitely, this is something that I am academically interested in. Like I'm fascinated by the intersection of art and engineering, and then also passionate about how can I build this thing that I would have liked as an artist and make artists' lives better and also make art more accessible. That's something that I really care about. Like I've always found it silly how you need to have thousands and thousands of dollars of disposable income to be able to decorate your walls. If not, you just leave them blank. It's a problem that I am passionate about, and thus I think that's a lot of what's driven me the past few years.
Was it difficult to get to term with what you wanted that McGill gave you, or it was easy to make your dream come true and it was your way or no way? Did you have to negotiate with them?
I mean, I never had to negotiate with McGill specifically. I pitched it to the McGill Engineering Startup Center, and they gave me our first little starter check. So that was how we got started. But after that, I mean, yeah, not necessarily negotiation, but it's definitely a matter of pitching your idea over and over and over and over again, hearing no a bunch of times, sometimes it being a yes. And that's definitely been a taxing experience that I've had to learn how to overcome, is just hearing no day in and day out over and over again. And somehow, maintaining your conviction in your idea.
Because I'm sure by listening to what you say, I have a lot of you in me. I see it. No doesn't go very well.
No.
Rejection doesn't work. And if the door is open or the door is closed, doesn't make any change. You're going to go through it. Mm-hmm. How do you stay focused on what you wanted when they were saying no to you? Now they regret it, by the way. But
yeah, I think it's just you have to believe in your idea and have a vision for how it will work. And I mean, because the other tricky part is, they could also have been right. Like most people who I talked to at the beginning, 50-50, or I would argue probably more likely statistically that they were right. Like nobody had ever built a robot that could replicate human brushstrokes before, in this way. And I had no idea that it would work either. And I think that's another part of the tricky thing is I would be pitching and I'd be explaining how the technology might work. And they were saying, why should I believe you? You are a 20-year-old second year, third year engineering student. Like, what credibility do you have? So, and yeah, I didn't really have any credibility. I just had
you have a
conviction.
A belief and a passion that will take whatever you had to do it and make it happen. So when is this turn came, like everything was positive and they give you the good to go? What happened that day? That day, do you remember when they say to you or you receive that say, okay, now you got the ball, let's roll it?
Yeah, it was during COVID.
Oh.
Yeah, so we started during COVID. I came up with the idea pre-COVID, but yeah, we got that first check from McGill, which I say check, it sounds like a lot. It was $2,000. So
Well, it was the first one.
It was the first one.
The
and
first
it
one
was an
that you
important one.
receive
Yeah.
for something that you want to happen.
Exactly. That was a kick in the butt of, okay, let's actually make this happen. My the woman who I started the company with, my original co-founder, eventually left her job. She was working at a robotics company. So that was an example of, okay, we've gotten this first check, and somebody believes in us. Let's make this happen. And we hired immediately that same day another one of our friends in mechanical engineering, and we just started to build a robot.
Where?
In downtown Montreal, out of our apartments. McGill was closed. All of the workshops and machine shops and stuff like that were closed. So we spent, I think, 300 or 400 of that 2,000 on buying a 3D printer so that we could build everything, from our apartments downtown. And
be scared that you don't know if it's gonna happen because COVID is here.
Yeah, that as well. We were. Yeah, it was an interesting time, like sawing wood off of balconies because everything was closed.
And you're not allowed to go outside, but you're doing it anyway.
Exactly. But I honestly do think that helped. Like we had a ton of focused time where we couldn't be doing anything else anyways. So why not, sit in our apartments and just build and hack away at this robot.
Now you start to spend that money you built.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there any way or any time during this period that you thought, oh, we're going to miss money? What are we going to do?
Yes. And I think that's part of the journey of being an entrepreneur through and through. You're
laughing now, but I'm sure you didn't laugh at that time.
Yeah, I'm not laughing at that time. So we had this plan of, okay, we're going to take the summer. So we got the $2,000 beginning of the summer. We had 4 months. And we said, let's build this robot. By July, we'll start making paintings with it. We'll launch in August.
And then we're rich.
We're going to be rich. It's going to be amazing. We'll start working with other artists. And we got to August and we switch on the robot that we'd been building and nothing happens.
No.
Nothing. We hadn't done the wiring right.
Because you didn't know, or because something went wrong? Or?
We were a bunch of mechanical engineering students. We were working with random parts ordered off Amazon, cobbled together without really any external support system, trying to build a pretty complicated, very large robot with only $2,000. So we were buying the cheapest parts and stuff like that. I'm not surprised it didn't work. And we also then realized, and from day one, we were like, let's get the marketing started. We built an Instagram. We ended up by the end of the summer with about 2,000 followers. And in every single post, you can look back at our Instagram. Underneath, we would say launching September, September 2021, 2020 even. Launching September 2020. So 4 months from when we got the first check. September 2020 came and we had no robot. We had not validated the market. We had not gotten any clients, etc. So anyways, I guess to summarize all that, we did exactly what a lot of engineering students do, which is go, oh my goodness, this technology is so cool. Let me spend all my money and build it. And we did not think about the actual commercialization path and stuff like that. So that was the beginning of the rest of the journey.
The commercial path is very expensive.
It's expensive. It's something that I've learned. Again, I started this out and I said, we can build this for, not very much money. Like, let's get things rolling. And it's been a big wake up call of it takes money to make money. Like, you need that upfront investment, especially when you're building something that's expensive to build.
How much does it cost a robot today? Now that it's working in 2023, and you do, because now we can prove that you're worth $7 million, your company. I mean, how much does it cost to build a robot?
So now we buy them. So this one is about 20,000. We've got really big ones.
What's his name?
This one is it's a Mechademic 500.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then we've got big ones in our studio that are more like 40, 50,000.
To build and to deliver to the client.
Exactly. Well, so we buy them from robotics companies. We use them to make art. We don't actually sell the robots to artists.
Oh.
Yeah. That was another wake up call of, we were like, oh, we'll build these robots and, my
sell
artist
them
friends.
on Amazon.
Yeah,
No.
sure. Well, I got a few business mentors who said, okay, step one in starting a company is go talk to your clients, like go meet with some artists.
What do they need?
Exactly. And I pitched this idea to artists, and every single artist was like, I barely make enough money to put food on the table. I'm not going to be buying a $20,000 robot from you. So that was we said, okay, so let's think about what other business models we can do. So that's how we have our current business model, which is, manufacturing as a service. So artists don't pay anything. They only make money when their paintings sell.
So let me explain. They rent this, they rent it from you, or you lend it to them and they create painting. As you can see, we have one now from Matt Chesko, who was previously on our show. So Matt didn't create that.
So how it works, and I guess I haven't even explained what the company does. So we're trying to build the world's first way to make painted artwork at scale. So how it works is artists design their pieces digitally on a tablet.
Yes.
So if you've ever used Adobe Illustrator or even MS Paint or some form of digital drawing software, we use technologies like that. And then once they're finished their piece, they send it to us, and we've built the software to extract all kinds of data about how their pencil or their stylus moved on the tablet, the pressure they applied, the colors they used.
Like if it was the real hand.
Exactly, like as if it was their real hand. And then we say, hey, robot, do those strokes. And then we've got our little robot here, or our big robot in the studio that recreates each of those strokes layer by layer. So this piece, for example, was created by artist Matt Chesko, who I know you've already had on the show.
Yes.
It was amazing working with him. So this is a 16,000 brushstroke painting. And he did all of the 16,000 brushstrokes on his tablet first. And then we redid them with the robot. It's actually dipping in paint colors and redoing the strokes.
Like this and the bigger one version, I imagine you did it.
Yeah.
And you go and pick the paint and do it right here.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got all the paint colors. We've got, again, this is just a little demo setup, but the robot goes and dips in the paint cups. It'll wash its brush. It'll dry itself and then execute the painting.
So you will program the robot to do it.
Exactly.
The biggest robot is how big?
Robots get really big, but they get really expensive. Our biggest robot is it's big enough to paint that, if that gives you any idea. It's probably about me from the waist up, big long arm.
So small robot, small painting, bigger painting.
Exactly.
Who's your customer today?
Artists and art buyers. So it's artists who use the technology to create the artwork, but then the money comes from people buying the art. So, Matt Chesko launched this, went viral. I think he got like 6 million views on one video. It was great. And then he has buyers who he's already cultivated his network. They buy one of the 10 replicas in this case, and then we split that with the artist.
How many can they make? Like, do you have a preset, say, because we don't want it to be everywhere in the world. We want exclusivity.
Exactly.
So what's the minimum or the maximum you want to repaint?
It really depends on the artist and how they want to curate that collection. So, but you're completely right in that that's a really important part of what we do is everything is limited edition. So what that means is, for example, Matt picked 10. Once we make 10, that's it, that's all. We will never make any more. And because we
Depends on the price. If we ask you 2 million, maybe you will. And Matt too.
I guess that gets into the ethics of it.
Exactly. You will bend the rules.
But goal being, idea is once we hit that cap, that's it, that's all. And that's very different from how prints work. A lot of prints are also limited edition lithographs or whatnot, but the challenge nowadays is, anybody can walk into a gallery, take a photo of Matt's work, make a bunch of prints of it, say that they're by the artist. Like, how do you manage authenticity?
But how do you know what to choose? Because for an artist who's not making so much, we're not talking Matt here, we're talking the starter or the one who didn't have the opportunity.
Artist,
they can print it and make so much money with one printing. Why would they choose your robot to do it?
You mean making photo prints?
Yes. Instead, making a photo print and say, oh, you know what? I'm going to go and use the robot and just make 10 limited edition instead of just go and print it and make 5 million.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What's the difference?
Yeah. It's an important question. Biggest difference is the fact that this is made with actual paint.
Okay.
So, if you're looking at an original work of art hanging in a gallery where you can see the depth and the translucence of the paint colors, the way that they mixed, and you can actually get, there's a certain essence of a piece. I describe it as the art's aura. That's reflected when you can see that depth of pigment that you just do not have when you look at a flat photocopy. So it's a quality piece.
Are they as quality as the first original one that he will make with his hand? You think they're comparable?
It depends how you look at it. It depends how you're evaluating it.
Because Matt made it, no matter what. Francesco painted, but on a tablet.
Yeah.
And now we're there. In 2023, everything is... it's not real anymore. Everything is fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can create and recreate everything.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? Is it the same value? Some people will say, I'm not going to buy this because he didn't do it. But yes, he did.
Yeah. It's a debate that gets thrown at us all the time. I think that it still holds much of the same value, although it's not the same. Like, it will never be the same as something that an artist spent 40 hours laboring over. There's a reason why those artworks are so expensive, deservedly. It makes sense. But I think that, like, what we're trying to capitalize on, and the opportunity I see, is that you've got those handmade originals that are going to be priced at, $5,000-$10,000 plus dollars. And you have the IKEA style prints that just there's missing some life there. And there's a whole middle ground of art that just does not exist. And that's what we're trying to build. So it's maybe not as high quality, or it doesn't have the same vibe or feeling as if it's the one of one original.
But it's the one that everybody can mostly afford.
Exactly. Yeah. So like the original, it might be better, but if you can't spend $40,000 on it, it doesn't matter if it's 10-20% better, because it's just not in your price range.
I agree. Are you still painting?
Yes and no. So for the whole first 2-ish years of the company, basically every artwork that the robot ever made was mine. So that was honestly where I channeled a lot of my creative energy, and I am working on a collection of my art now that will launch soon. That'll be painted by the robot. So I guess it's not literal painting; it's me digital painting for the robot. But I'm still working. Although I do find, and I mean, maybe you feel the same, that entrepreneurship is super creative.
You have to be.
Oh, you have to be.
You
super
have
creative.
to be the one who's like to live on the high all the time. You don't sleep. You like to be scared. You like to challenge yourself. You have to be a nerd.
Yeah.
Marketing industry. You have to be a secretary. You have to be everything. And you have to stay positive.
Yeah.
And don't listen to the other.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Because they will bully you, stop you by their own fear. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Your first client, the
My
first
first client.
big check
Okay.
was who?
Was Matt Chesko's collection.
He's the rich one.
Yeah, that was the first collection we ever launched this summer. And yeah, it set the scene for a lot more. For a long time, we'd be making these little pieces, like testers, doing our beta testing process, etc. This was the first collection, large scale, ready for sale, and the art, I think, was really great. So that was a big wow moment.
And it was somebody who bought it?
Yeah. It it went viral, and I think the first 5 sold out in like an hour.
Really?
So no, and we've got some. Well, they're all hanging up in homes now, which is pretty exciting. I've gotten a few photos, which is a very cool feeling.
You say your company is worth $7 million today. How did you make this $7 million starting by $2,000? You know what I mean? Now, if you look back, it was not that far. It was in 2020. So what made you build your team, change location? I'm sure you're not doing this in your house anymore. Like, how does this affect your success? How did you manage to stay who you are, true to yourself, and keep going, knowing that you were successful? You could stop tomorrow morning now and sell your ID. You know what I mean?
Yes and no. I think, we have definitely found a fair bit of success in that it works finally, and we've started to work with major artists like Matt Chesko. But we definitely are not a stable running enterprise where I could just up and leave. We've got quite a bit more work to do to get to that point, and that's a big part of what drives me. And following through. Like, I think there's a ton of potential here, and I mean, I can chat about what that big picture vision is, but it's a matter of executing now and following through on all of that.
How do you keep growing your company?
How do I keep growing my company? In what sense?
Well, to make sure it's up to date and you have enough staff and ideas that keep coming. And
yeah, I mean, I think it's a sort of put one foot in front of the other type thing, and the objective has always been the same: is build technology that works. We've proven that it works at a small scale. Now we need to build out, a small manufacturing facility with lots of robots, and then start getting artists in the door, start getting artist projects in the door. And yeah, so I mean, we've got a pretty extensive roadmap for the next 18 months is usually the furthest I try and roadmap out. And we just, every day we keep trying to hit those milestones.
So you're somebody who have a map.
Oh, yes.
You're not a spontaneous artist type because you have both. So I was like, is she artist? Let's go with the flow. We jump in, or she plan everything to the detail because you have a nerd side of you.
I do have a nerd side,
and it's
as
a
well.
good thing. But you're also an artist who decided to go both hats.
Yeah.
So how do you plan everything but still be easy go?
Yeah. And I definitely have both sides of the brain. People like I am a very spontaneous person, but I think you have to mix spontaneity with good planning. In that, it's not just me as an artist by myself making the art that I want to make. I've got staff. I've got
many
office
people
space. We're 6 now. We're 6, and for example, investors and whatnot who are looking for that type of 18-month roadmap. So yeah, I think it's a matter of being spontaneous and open to new opportunities, excited to, and continuously coming up with new ideas and whatnot, but also committed to a track. And I think, honestly, part of what helps me is having a team that's a little bit more structured. I tend to be the very big idea or rah, let's go full tilt on this new thing. And I think it helps to have advisors and other team members who are like, okay, no, here's our roadmap. How can we fit this in and
who
structure
controls you with this roadmap? Like, I mean, who do you go to when you feel that you're losing it to your big ideas?
I've got a COO, Kyle, who's fantastic. His background is more in business, finance, etc. So he helps make sure that we stay on track and on budget. Because I bring the art and the engineering, but I didn't come into the company with a background in finance and business per se. And a team of advisors who.
How did you choose this team?
Of advisors or my
Both
staff?
of them, your staff and you. How did you do that? You who knows that you didn't have the tools, because being a good entrepreneur is also equip yourself with the best team that we don't have in us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Agree to understand and be humble enough to know that we don't have that financial thing. We just want to see big and be already on top of Japan doing some hard.
Yeah.
So how did you choose these people who will fit with you and understand who you are?
I think it's an exercise of self-awareness almost, of what are the things that I love doing, like what brings me energy and what am I good at. So that's kind of how I've done it. And I think that that's one of the joys of starting your own company, is that unlike, if you get hired at a job, there's a pretty specific thing you are set out to do.
Stay there.
Exactly. And I think part of what I love is that I get to go, there's a million things I could be doing with my day. Let me pick the things that I'm good at and that I like, and I can hire people to do the rest. So, I mean, even like my COO, for example, he joined on board pretty early on. I had posted a few job postings for like marketing coordinators and graphic designers and stuff like that. And he sent me a message saying, you don't know that you need me, but you need a finance guy.
Yes, you do. You do.
Yeah. And I saw that email and I was like, who is so presumptuous to tell me that I need a finance guy? Like, what does that mean?
Let's hire him.
Yeah, but and then I was like, I think I probably trashed the email, but I thought about it a little longer, and I was like, actually, he's right. I do need a finance guy. Like, that's not something that I really like, and it's not something that I'm especially good at. Like, I can manage a budget, but so anyways, and I brought him on, and it was history ever since. So,
how do you stay up to date in your industry?
It's another good question. A lot of conferences are a big one. So, getting a feel for who's who in the startup ecosystem, the new up and coming companies, and going to art events, for example, meeting with new artists and galleries, and also just staying up to date online, like Twitter and LinkedIn and whatnot. And another big resource for me is just other founders. Like I intentionally set aside a certain portion of hours every week to meet with other founders and to hear about, what are the best practices, even like the basic things, like how are you managing your emails? Have you found any new softwares lately? And that's the kind of thing that I have found really helpful for that.
Do you think robot will take place of human?
I had a feeling we would get to this. I've got
yes, so we can all relax and have champagne by the pool
and let them deliver it.
Do anything they want for us.
Well,
being us without us being there.
Funny little story about that. One of the other robots that I built for Acrylic was intended to be a robot that would help with paint mixing. So we would load in a bunch of paint colors and, automatically mix them and stuff like that. And we ended up not needing it for a little while. And its use case became making cocktails at our office parties.
Could you send him over, please?
Yeah, please. Yes. That'll be, $50,000, but
it's okay. But you should advertise this for parties.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Come on. What are you doing, Chloe? You're sleeping.
They were like, if Acrylic ever doesn't work out.
No, but you could still. This is my question. Can we use your robot for other purpose? Let's say mixing cocktail, or let's say we have an event and it's a robot who's serving you, who's going around with a tray. We see them in a restaurant now.
Yeah. So there's typically two different types of robotics companies. Either companies that are making general purpose robots. So another word for that is humanoid robotics companies, like human-like, where they are able to do a wide variety of tasks. Those robots you could hire to paint and to make cocktails. They're not going to be very good at painting, and they're not going to be very good at cocktails yet. Again, one day that will probably be different, but they will be able to do a variety of things. This type of robotic whole system and technology is not general purpose. It is super specific to painting. So we could eventually branch into other things that look like painting. For example, other art forms like sketching.
You already know what you're going to do. So what are you going to do next? Let me ask you, because I know you already thought about it. What is it going to be your next one beside painting?
I mean, I do think that humanoid robotics as a field is really interesting. Like I always told myself, scientifically speaking, this is not actually how it works, but I always thought to myself, if I can build a robot that can do something as complex and delicate and nuanced as painting, to me that felt like it's one of the most human skills, both physically, like getting robots to do really precise things is really hard, but also conceptually is, I think that art is a big part of what makes us human, and it's definitely like it changes things if we are able to have a robot take on some of that and do that. So anyways, I am interested in humanoid robotics and generally speaking as a field, and maybe other ways to link robots with other creative fields and stuff like that. Like you say,
sculpture before.
Yeah, sculpture would be cool. I mean, I'm not personally a sculptor, so I would want to bring someone on who has got that background, but that could be an interesting avenue. Or robots doing something else entirely. Like there are so many ways that I think robots can be programmed and set up to benefit humanity. And yeah, I'd love to get into other industries besides just fine art after this.
What risk were you willing to take for your success?
I mean, basically everything. I put like all my savings. It was not very much because I was a student, but I put them all into the company when we needed it, and I turned down a lot of other potential career paths and job opportunities and stuff like that. And even just the sacrifice of time, like it looks fancy, it looks exciting. I'm here on this podcast, but this is the result of 3 years of, sacrifice of social things.
Successful people, when we see them, we're like, oh, he's got it easy, or she got it easy. Oh my God, she has all this money and everything. But from the time you start to where you got, if you will give this challenge to some people, they will kill themselves. they will not live through it because they're not built for that. It's easy to say to someone, I want your success, I want to be who you are, but they forget to understand where you have to go first to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly what
Is
you
your
mean.
success change your life in different way?
I mean, it's 100%. It's changed my life. I would less so than I would say it's changed me more than it's changed my life yet. Just the way that I see the world and the risks that I'm willing to take and the things that feel possible. Like, I remember when I first started the company, still in the early days, small things felt very hard. Yeah. And the things that I thought I could do or I could build were, I mean, again, they were still pretty ambitious, but they were still capped. And I think that building this and finally seeing it working, again, there's a ton of risks still outstanding, but and who knows if we will end up finding more success or not. But the
why are you saying that?
I just think it's important to be realistic. 9 out of 10 startups fail, and you won't know. Like we are at a really delicate point between research and development phase and commercialization phase. We passed research and development, green check mark. Now we're jumping into an absolute minefield of new challenges. So
what's the biggest one you think? Now that we're having this conversation, then if I ask you in 5 years, you're going to laugh at it because you're going to win through it.
Yeah. I think that the biggest challenge is now for us is finding what we call product market fit. So again, before it was validation of the core scientific principles. Most people said it would never be possible to build a robot that can replicate these human brushstrokes.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. And now it's a matter of this is a product that the world has never seen. I'm not just replacing a product existing in the market. Mm-hmm. Like if I found...
You're the first.
I'm the first, exactly.
Let's say.
I'm the first, and so it's still a question mark. Will artists love this, want to support it, want to use it? And will buyers care that it's made by the robot? Will they like that? How will they react to it? How big is the market? That's what I now need to figure out.
A big company comes along,
mm-hmm.
the States or in Europe, and say to you, I'm buying you out.
Mm-hmm.
Here's $200 million.
Yeah.
But you're never allowed to create another robot or do anything in engineering. What would you do?
Whew. That's a loaded question.
If I buy you out, I wouldn't want you to stay capable to build something else because I'd be scared of you. Smart people, very smart entrepreneur, they let the other take the chance. And when they see that it's about to grow, they buy them out with a closure. Mm-hmm. You cannot do this, and that. You have to start a new life. What would you do? Do you understand why I'm saying that? Because it's like you, the one who created. Yeah. I don't want you to be my competition.
Yeah.
So I buy you out.
I mean, if it's just a you can't build another acrylic, that's fine. I already built this. If it's that you can't build another company ever again, I think I would definitely have a problem with that. Like I've fallen in love with the experience of being an entrepreneur.
So you would not accept it.
I would want to sit down and learn more about what they mean by I can't build something again.
You can't. You just can't. They don't want to.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to leave it as I don't know.
Okay. So what's the other career you would have done if you didn't do this?
Whew. That's another good question. I was super interested in renewable energy, sustainability. I always thought that I would start a company in that field, something that helped us solve climate change. Mm-hmm. I still think that there's a chance I might veer back towards that route, but to be honest, in building this and in getting deeply embedded in the sort of robotics and AI ecosystems, I feel as though artificial intelligence and advanced robotics is arguably equally, if not greater, of a threat to humanity if it's not built and managed properly. And thus, I think I may end up staying building in these fields. We'll see. But yeah, probably would have been something in there. My first internship in engineering was in construction, so that would have been a totally different career path. Yeah.
And 5 years from now, my last question: where are you?
5 years from now. So 5 years from now, what that looks like is I would love to just see more art everywhere. I want to be able to walk into a studio like here and you've got art up on the walls. I want more people from different socioeconomic backgrounds who are not typical art investor collectors to be able to be buying art from artists that they love. I want artists to have an easier go at making a living without having to rely on the gallery system. Again, it's got its place, but I think the reliance is often problematic. And so that's the main goal. And, when you are shopping for art, you go, I can either buy a print, I can head to IKEA, I can buy an original artwork, but, 90% of the time in that whole 90% middle market, you'll go, I'm going to buy an artwork by Acrylic. And that's just the default. It's like Kleenex. So that's the vision for Acrylic. And then beyond that, in 5 years, hopefully I've brought that to market and I'm working on the next big thing.
It was a pleasure.
Thank
to
you.
have you. It was so quick. It was so intelligent. And I'm so greatly amazed by what you created. And I hope you have much more success and come back and talk to us.
Thank you so much for
Thank
inviting
you,
me. This was
Chloë.
lovely.
Thank you.